figured out. One episode is all it takes. I'm 2 steps ahead of the show. Oh. All right. So let's just kind of run through the show episode just a little bit. Let's not get DMCA'd, but let's also let's be smart about this. The show does open up. It shows the Butlerian Jihad. So I think the best way to explain this is honestly this, because this was the original prologue to the 1984 Dune. They're like, man, how are we gonna explain this universe to everybody? It's got a proper name, proper nouns, and a lot of words that nobody has ever heard before, like Bene Gesserit, Tleilaxu, Ixian, Mentats, Kwisatz Haderach, Arrakis. It's got all of these terminologies and stuff that are just a little confusing. And just for a reference, when Peter Jackson made the Lord of the Rings series, him and Fran Walsh were very concerned about the overuse of proper nouns. You know, calling things or calling out places and locations that aren't actually in the story, like, you know, being like, oh, it's Gil-galad and that's Elendil, and, you know, it's just to not overwhelm someone who's just coming in here without any idea what's going on, you know. I think the comic book movies, like the Marvel comic movies, did this fairly well, because there's a lot of lore and shit in the comic book movies, and if you just want to geek out, you're going to alienate people. They're gonna be like, I don't understand what's going on. I don't understand. I have no idea. And I feel like it took some risks on this show by not really, I would say, curtailing that. They kind of went a little sci-fi here, and I gotta say, it is an interesting move here to do a more sci-fi. But the TLDR is, in the beginning of the show, is essentially a prologue, just like, so the first, I would say, the first 15 minutes of the show, the first 14 minutes of the show ish is basically a prologue, and from my understanding, they are summarizing the Brian Herbert novels. Brian Herbert wrote, let's see here. What are the Brian Herbert novels? He wrote, let's see here. Yeah, here, the Butlerian Jihad, the Machine Crusade, and the Battle of Corin. And yeah, he wrote a bunch of things like explaining the Butlerian Jihad, the war against the thinking machines, because as we've talked about this before, when people talk about AI art and stuff, and Dune is very anti thinking machines. It's basically one of the core tenets is that people were very dependent on the machines to think for them. They did all the thinking. And was it hentai? There was some nudity. I mean, there was a little nudity. If you're on HBO, if you're gonna have a show on HBO, you gotta show some nudity. I'm sorry, just a little bit. We'll get to the nudity. Don't worry. I won't show. I can't show it on stream though. But essentially, this prologue in the beginning explains that humans rose up against thinking machines, and it wasn't really just that it wasn't like they're making it look like Terminator, but it was a little bit more involved in there. It was people with machines, with thinking machines, controlling other people, from what I understand. Now, a long time ago,
in the year 6041, before the reign of the Padishah emperors, the universe was ruled by thinking machines with human minds, computers, and conscious robots. The people deteriorated into a state of apathy.
it was all the concept art they did.
Then they became victims and slaves of other men with machines.
Not the dog.
Finally came
Star
the
Wars
Great
copy
Revolt,
Dune.
the religious crusade against the machines.
Star Wars had gay robots in it. There are no gay robots in Dune, as far as I know.
After the Great Revolt, human beings were forced to develop their minds. Thus, mental training schools were established.
And one of
These
those
schools would
one of those schools was the Bene Gesserit. So there is a little bit of religion involved.
Universe. Only 2 of these ancient mental training schools remain. One is the Bene Gesserit School, which was established primarily for female students. The function of the Bene Gesserit School is to carry on a selective breeding program among humans.
Yeah. All right, but there are a couple schools, and you got the Guild, which deals in mathematics. You have the Bene Gesserit, which have their breeding program and basically dealing with politics. They kind of rule from the shadows, and this is what this whole show's about: is who is in control of the Imperium, essentially. And I think it's an interesting problem to possess. But let's go through the episode real quick, as fast as I can. Let's do a little summary. Spoilers if you haven't seen episode 1, but I'm kind of optimistic. So they start out showing the war, and they kind of just, they don't show a lot of scenes about the Butlerian Jihad, but they mentioned the fact that the Harkonnens were cowards in this war, and the Atreides were like the heroes. And that's one thing that they point out. And that goes back to the old feud between the Harkonnens and the Atreides. Then the episode introduces to one of the main characters. This is Valia Harkonnen. This is portrayed by Flora Montgomery, and this is her younger self. She's a character from Brian Herbert's novels, and his books end with the prologue, essentially. She became a student at Walcrest 9, the home planet of the Bene Gesserit, and they have this old elderly leader she was there fighting against the robots, and she established this school of truthsayers to help the leaders know what was true, because they could detect lies. They were able to train their bodies to go into a higher state of awareness to just see minute things that the body will do when you lie, like your dilations of pupils, sweat, increased heart rate, just a lot of physiological factors that can identify that someone's lying. And they were very useful during the Butlerian Jihad. And she wanted to expand on this power. She wanted the Bene Gesserit to get stronger and to grow their influence. And when she was dying, this is their home. This is their home planet, Wallcrest 9. When she was on her deathbed, I can get to it. Is there a way to do like a frame by frame? It won't let me do it. When she was on her deathbed, her daughter or her granddaughter, thought it was kind of like playing God, doing this genetic breeding program to try to breed better humans and stronger humans. She thought it like playing God. Kind of like if you had said today, hey, I think we should use science technology to make our lives easier. Every time that has ever happened, there's always been people who say, no, that's against God. That's not what God wants. God wouldn't want that. So she's kind of playing that archetype. And then you have Valia Harkonnen. I am, yeah. Hello, Freddy's. Hold on, Freddy's. Let me help you here. If you're gonna, let me get the Tanga stuff on sale. I wish it was permanently on sale though. It won't let me do it. So she's brought to her deathbed, and she has like a prophetic vision. People have prophecy. Like prophecy is an important part in Dune. It's very important later on in the Frank Herbert Dune novels, because if you see the future, you're kind of trapped by it, and if you try to do the right thing, there's a big rabbit hole of consequences. And but one of the things that they were very worried about, not just the Bene Gesserit, but Paul Atreides and his son Leto, who later became the God Emperor Dune, which hopefully one day we'll get this into. And one day, Denis Villeneuve will make Children of Dune, and it'll be amazing. I promise you. And then he'll make God Emperor Dune, and we'll all be like, what the heck? It is a little sandy. It is a little sandy. So this is an interesting picture right here. They see, like, she sees like people burning, and she sees like the Bene Gesserit being consumed by a worm, and she uses the word Arafel. And Arafel is not a word you use lightly in Dune. It was actually one of the last things. It was one of the last things that the God Emperor said when he was dying in Book 4 in the God Emperor Dune. He turned to Siona and he said, "Do not fear the Ixians. They can make the machines, but they can no longer make Arafel. I know. I was there," because he's prescient. And what Arafel is essentially a thinking machine, like a Terminator, that also is prescient. It can see the future. And the reason why he's not worried about Arafel anymore is because he took over the Bene Gesserit breeding program at this time. At this point in the story, he's taking control of the Bene Gesserit breeding program, and he bred people in a certain way to create people invisible to prophecy. You could not see them in the future. They were invisible. It was a genetic trait, which is kind of definitely a science fiction idea. And if you're a machine that could see the future, you can't see this person, you're obviously not going to be able to hunt them. And she uses the words at the end, like she says, "You will see the burning truth." She turns to this old Reverend Mother who's like the head. She's the OG mom of this all women's school. She turns to Valia and says, "You will see the burning truth." And that is an important line that we'll come back to later, because she actually that it happens. And so the grandmother the mother dies, and she entrusts Valia for the future of the Bene Gesserit, and they come up with the plan. They're like, listen, we have to become bigger, stronger, faster, kind of like the Daft Punk song. And there's a storm coming for us. We need to be prepared. We need to put a Bene Gesserit on the throne. And that becomes their goal. Their sole goal is to put an empress who is aligned with their cause in control of the Imperium. And next thing you know is that we go 30 years into the future. Well, actually, no. One last thing that happens. They bury the old grandmother, and then we see her granddaughter looking for something very particular. She's looking for the codex, the genetic codex, because she sees it as an abomination to God. And she has a little band of people in the Bene Gesserit who are fundamentalists in this world. And so she is going to destroy her grandmother's legacy because she thinks it's abhorrent. Well, things get escalated, and Valia uses the voice on her. She's like, bah! She yells at her, and it works, and she's just flabbergasted. She has like no idea what's happening. And she's like, I've been working on this new technique. I will be happy to share this technique with you if you'll join me. And she's like, fuck you. I'll never join a Harkonnen. And then Valia says, take out your knife and stab your throat. Stab yourself in the throat. And she does. And she dies. Because that generally will kill you. You know what I mean? So she's dead. I do believe that we will see echoes. This is gonna come back in the story later. And she gets the codex, and she tells all the sisters come back, and she tells the systems everything for the sisterhood. And then we flash forward 30 years later, 116 years after the Bartlarian Jihad, and only 10,000 years before Paul Atreides. So we got some time to go here. The one thing that I am not quite sure, a PMA may know the answer to this though. It's like, how long do people live in this universe? Because I know the spice extends life, and in Dune they characterize the Emperor as being like 70 years old, but looking like he was like 40. I don't know how long people live. I mean, obviously, if you stab yourself in the neck, you're not going to live to be 120. But I'm kind of wondering, like, the timeline here. Like, how many generations are we talking here? Because we're talking at least like, this is like 15 generations. This is 10,000 years. A lot of generations. You know, it's nutty. So, anyways, this is 30 years after when Valia gets control of the sisterhood, and she's making the decisions of, like, this house wants a truthsayer, because that's all they are right now. It's basically, well, yeah, this is the only thing people know about. They're just truthsayers, and that's all there are. But they're much more than that right now. And one of the big things is that the Empress is coming to school. It's kind of like Harry Potter school. It's a school, and the Empress is coming. And they're all excited for it. and we get to meet some of the students. There's also a graven image. I think that's funny. If I can find it here. Where's his image? Come on, let me go to it. There's a graven image. literally something you're not supposed to do in even Christianity. A graven image, man, of the matriarch. Didn't. It's the 81st. Okay, that makes about sense. All right, so it was literally like a. I mean, if this was gold, it would be even more symbolic, I think. But we introduced to shit. I didn't look up his name. He didn't seem that important. Constantine Carino. He is the half brother of the Empress, but he is not. He is not in the line of succession. He cannot take the throne, which means that he will take the throne. Which in Game of Thrones fashion means that he will seek the throne, probably. But yeah, I'm not sure like how he's the half brother of the Empress. I don't get it. I don't understand. Like, is it from? Is he from the? Is he like the son of the mother, or the son of the father? He has a Carino name, so maybe the father. I don't know. But yeah, he's there just to finalize the agreement for the Empress to come to the Bene Gesserit School on Wallach 9. And then the next thing you know is that there's another training scene. They're talking about the brain and how lying is one of the most complicated things that the brain can do. And I think that's about right. Name another animal that lies as much as a human. I don't think there is one. Humans lie all the time. And then we go to Seleucus Secundus. And this is very interesting. Very interesting. Because in the books, by the time we get to Dune and the Paul Atreides, Seleucus Secundus is a piece of shit world. It is a barren world. Dogs lie all the time. Your puck sags. Yeah, Jasper always wants more food too. He begrudgingly looks at me every time I put food in my mouth. He's like, "Where's mine?" I'm like, "Jasper, it's chocolate. You can't have this." But 10,000 years ago, Seleucus Secundus was a paradise, and by the time you get to Dune, it ain't a good place. You don't want to spend your vacation there. It's a prison planet, and the Dune. By the time we get to Paul Atreides, this place is a hellhole, and it is the Imperial prison planet. So something bad happened here, but we're probably not going to cover that in this show. We see the Emperor. Okay, this is the Empress. She's doing like the Paul Atreides thing. She's doing like the thing in Dude. You got to do the sparring. You know, you got to see the little blue shields. And this is her new sword master. And there's a lot of sexual tension going on here. Then after a little scene there, we see the Emperor. Now, what's very interesting about the Emperor scene is that behind the Emperor and the this Duke over here, he's a Duke, not Duke Atreides. He's Duke Rishi. Behind both of them are Bene Gesserit, and they're doing all the negotiating. They're negotiating with each other the terms of this marriage proposal. So on top of the Empress going to school at the Bene Gesserits, the Emperor is also doing an arranged marriage for the princess as well. So and he's doing, and he needs this marriage to work out because the Fremen are kicking his ass on Arrakis, and he needs his ships, the Rishi's ships, to fight the Fremen and secure Arrakis. And he's a bit of an asshole, this Rishi guy. He's a bit of a butthole. He's like, yeah, I want to... Can I have an apartment at the royal palace too? He's very demanding. He's very ambitious. And the emperor sees this and he's just like, I don't like this at all. Are you sure? He's really not for this marriage. The emperor is just like, something's not right here. But he's going along with it because his Bene Gesserit truthsayers all for it. It's like, this is your decision. And you kind of see that they're the ones pulling the strings behind the scenes. They're really manipulating everything. They're controlling the Imperium, and he doesn't even know it. No, don't play. Can I these two truthsayers are essentially running the whole galactic empire. And we're about to see a new challenger approach. We're about to see a new challenger approach, and it's Travis Fimmel. If you don't know who he is, I've seen him in a couple of things. He was most notably in Vikings. He also was in the Warcraft movie. He played Ragnar in Vikings. He was in Raised by Wolves. He's been in a lot of things. I think he's Australian. He sounds Swedish. Yeah, he's been in a lot of science fiction and stuff. He's a pretty good actor. Well, he's the next contender. We see another scene with the Bene Gesserit, and they're just honing their truth-saying abilities versus criminals, essentially. And HBO, I thought it was an Apple show. See, it was an Apple show originally, PMA, and then I think Apple didn't pick it up, but HBO renewed it, but never showed it like on TV, I think, right? I want to say it was an Apple TV show. You see more training sequences with, like, you know, they're doing their prana Hindu training. One of the things that Bene Gesserit do is they have really good control over their body, like better than the best athletes, but better than an Olympic athlete. That with their prana Hindu training, they can manipulate their muscles and control them very well, and that gives them superior strength and speed to the average person. They are a force to be reckoned with. And we see some. Now we get to the wedding part. Actually, don't we? Yeah, we get to the wedding part a little bit. And the mother here, this is Jodie May. She was in. She's been in a couple things. She was in The Witcher. She played that lady. Who was it? Korath? Oh, what was her name? It was on HBO, and it got axed when Zazeo came. She's a really, I would say, like, okay, she played Queen Calanthe, yeah, in The Witcher, and that's where I know her from. But she does a good job here. Like, she's very convincing, and she's kind of like upset about the fact that her husband doesn't, like, the Emperor doesn't listen to her anymore, and that this marriage is wrong. But the princess is kind of all for it. She's like, it's like, yeah, it's gonna be fine because I'm gonna get married, and then for the next couple of years, I'm going to be free. I can do whatever the fuck I want. This is a marriage of convenience. And she's got that. she's got that Dune. She's got that kind of interesting prop on. It looks good. It looks like that prop in the actual Dune movie. And then we get our Viking. This is Travis Fimmel. Also, going back to, this is at 7:10. Going back to the actual Dunes. This girl right here. This is Emily Watson. She was in Chernobyl. She was in HBO's Chernobyl. She's not a big name, but I think all the acting in this show is actually really good. I'm actually happy. They're not overacting, and and the language, and I think the actual like writing isn't bad. There are some small critiques here and there, but nothing too bad. So anyways, our Viking friend, his name is Desmond Hart, and he is a soldier of the Emperor, and he was supposedly killed on Arrakis by the Fremen. And he shows up here, he's like, hey imps, hey pops, what's going on? And he lets the Emperor know that it was not an attack by the Fremen, it was an attack by some other force, and they stole the spice. And the Emperor's like, I haven't heard about this. And he asks his Reverend Mother, he asked his Truthsayer. His Truthsayer was like, I don't know what I have no idea what he's talking about. It must be an isolated incident, which it's not. It is not. They are behind this attack. They are undermining the Emperor. They, in a sense. All right, let's get through this episode. Then we'll talk about why this is an important scene. It comes back a little later. So she's a Truthsayer, and she says to the Emperor, like, well, he's not lying. He believes that what he says is true. And the Emperor's like, okay, that's all I need. And he's just like, hey, there's going to be a party afterwards. You should stay. We're having a big party. That night, she has a prophetic dream where she is kind of hard. She kind of sees that this marriage will end up in it'll be a rotten deal, essentially. And another thing that is shown in these prophetic moments. This is the second time we have seen these lights in the darkness. These are robot lights. These are robot eyes, because there's like a reverberation. It's very mechanical and electronic. And this is actually what the old Reverend Mother sees back here during the prologue. She actually sees those lights, and she calls it Arafel. And as we know, Arafel is basically that hunter-killer machine that is going to wipe out humanity. Okay? And she sees these lights as well again. And she kind of... This is back before prophecy was a big thing. I still think that the Bene Gesserit are honing their techniques. Like they're doing, like they've gotten the truth-saying part down right. Like they can tell if you're lying, but these other superhuman abilities, like seeing into the future, this being prescient, or like using the voice, is kind of not as concrete. They're still working on it, essentially. The Bene Gesserit's only been around for like 100 years. So they're still working on it. So anyways, the Bene Gesserit, what's her name again? Is it, it was, Yin, right? Yin, your name. I'm terrible with names. Oh, she may not have been in, she may not have been on here. Uh-oh. Maybe she's here. Uh That's young Francesca. I don't think she's on here. Huh. Or anyways, she's I don't think she's even on this list. No. Anyways, okay. Anyways, this Reverend Mother has this prophetic dream. She freaks out. She says to the Empress, I've got to get going. I'll see you later. I'll be back. I got to take care of some things, but you're going to be a great leader for the Imperium. I can't wait. I can't wait to have you as the Empress. And then we get a scene with the Emperor and his wife, and you could tell that they're estranged. I believe that judging from history, judging from the past history about how the Bene Gesserit actual like work and stuff, she is fucking the Emperor. 120% she was fucking the Emperor. I guarantee you she was having sex with the Emperor. Next thing here is they start talking about things. They give good characterization here. They're talking about these characters saying, well, she's like this, but she's headstrong. She's timid and weak. You know, she this one's a lost lamb, but she may have her uses. And then they hear that ship coming down. They're like, what the hell are you doing here? What's wrong? She tells them about her dream, about how she felt like she was there. And the Reverend Mother's like, go to bed. Don't worry about it. You're being hysterical. Calm down. And she has a sister. Like, that's her sister, Talia. That's they are sisters. They the head Reverend Mother and her. They're sisters, and they were all part of that group back in the prologue who were like, yeah, we got this plan. Let's do it. So then we have the wedding, and look who the bride. Look who the groom is. The groom is, come on, do it. Is a little fucking brat. And they're like, oh no. It's this type of marriage? Ah, hell. Little Matt Gates is coming down the aisle. And he is a little shit. I will say this. He is a little fucking shit. He is annoying. And then the Empress comes in that red dress. She's like, hey, what's up? Then we cut back to the Sisterhoods on Wallach 9. And she's like, you know, we should at least do we should do our jobs, our due diligence, and we should at least check the genetic history. We need to check the genetic history to make sure that the Empress, how you pronounce her name? It's Yanez, but everyone calls her Nez. So Nez, Princess Nez to dispenser is they just want her to check the codex, the genetic codex, to make sure that this is the right union, that they're not fucking it up. And then we cut back to, after that little scene, we cut back to the wedding, and I hate to say it, but like it is they get a little box for him to stand on. And we see the fruit that was in her dream is a pomegranate fruit. And we see them put the fruit in each other's mouths. Let me just say, it's awkward as fuck because the little kid's a brat, and everyone in the crowd kind of gives awkward looks too. Like, are you sure this is gonna work out? It's very awkward. It's very fucking awkward scene. let's see. Then we get like we see the reception. We see that the father's starting to talk to all the other lords in all the other big lords in the house. It's a teeny baninis. Welcome in. We're talking about the Dune show. I liked it. And everything's going okay until she notices the little boy is distracted with something. If I can find it here. Yeah, little boy's fiddling with someone's. Little boy's like playing with something, and she's like, "What is it?" And he says it's nothing, and she does what she's been taught by the Bene Gesserit already. She's been like the woman who had the nightmare. She's known her since she was a child. She has trained her much like Jessica trained Paul. They've kind of like slowly, they've taught him a little bit. And she's, I know you're lying to me. And he's like, you're not a true sayer. Yeah, it's like, yeah, but I could tell. Yeah, but you're a bad liar. And so she's like, well, what is it? He's like, well, what is it, little boy? What you got there? And it's a robot. It's a little lizard robot. And yeah, it's like a ball that like unpacks into like a little robot. She is mortified to see it. She's like, what the fuck is that? And everyone else who sees it's like, oh my god, they scream like it's a rat or something. And then our loyal soldier Desmond Hart kills it, takes a knife through it. He just kind of kills it right there. And there's a big stink afterwards. Big stink. Big huge dramas. Because thinking machines are outlawed. In fact, most machines are outlawed from this. We're in an ad now, Sag. This is a big no-no. And he's like, it's just a toy. Why are you guys so upset? And she's like, we just got through. It hasn't been that long ago. We were fighting thinking machines, and you bring a robot in here? You idiot. It's because of House Corino that your family, that you're even alive, motherfucker. And the Emperor comes in here and has to eat his pride and says, let's overlook this transgression. And you can just tell that his balls fell off then. You could just tell that whatever man he was, it said nah and left. He was humiliated here having to do this, and he sees this. He's observant. Our contender is not so happy with this. So it ends with this scene ends, the little party ends with the princess walking out, and her new husband's like, thank you. She turns to him and says, if you ever do that shit again, I will kill you myself. And walks away. It's really funny. And then we go back to the Bene Gesserit, and she says, yes, we are doing the right thing. This is the path forward. This leads to stabilizing the Corino line for centuries to come. And they're all like, are you sure? And they're like, yeah. Then we get some more girl talk. Then the princess and her brother go out on the night of the town. We'll come back later to that. Then the emperor's just kind of standing alone. And then we see Desmond come up to talk to him. And he kind of tells him things that he didn't know. Like, tells him that the other houses, like the people are kind of wondering why we can't use machines to make, some machines to make life easier. How come all the houses, like all like the houses get all the money from spice, and you know, like a wealth disparity, and he kind of like becomes a counselor. He is taking Kasha's spot. Oh, that's a girl's name, Kasha. So Kasha was the Bene Gesserit leader who was helping the Emperor. He's kind of filling that role now. He's becoming the confidant of the Emperor. And one thing the Emperor, and one little discussion they have here, he kind of says, he brings up God or gods. He says, you know, I pray to the gods to help me, you know, when I die, when I thought I was going to die on Arrakis. And I think he did. I think that this character did die. That Desmond Hart died on Arrakis. And I believe that the guy that we're seeing here is a golem. He is a fucking golem created by the Ixians. Because the Ixians are the technology, like they're the house that does all the technology stuff. They're the ones that break the rules. They've always broken the rules. They've always done heresy in the world of Dune with machines. I believe it's them. It's a hopsy flopsies. Just like Picard's a golem, kinda. With no context, it sounds like a wild conspiracy series. Well, one of the things he starts talking about gods and about the gods and stuff, and the Emperor's like, "Oh yeah, well my wife's the religious one," and just kind of leaves it there. But he says, "But if the gods could somehow help me get out of this marriage that I put my daughter through, can somehow fix this, it would make me a believer." And he kind of smiles. He's like, "Oh, is that the case?" He's like, "Oh." He's like, "Oh, okay. If you're saying if someone can fix your problems, you'll be thankful." So then we get a club scene. I've heard mixed things about this. Some of the more nerdy people on the internet don't like this club scene. They don't feel like it feels like Dune. I thought it was okay. It wasn't so bad. So the princess, and so while she's at the club, she meets that sword master from before. This guy. I can get a good still image of him. It's all blurry. All blurry. This guy. So she meets him at the bar conveniently, and we found out he's an Atreides. His last name is Atreides, and so they bang. It's kind of graphic. I'm probably gonna get banned for this. Then we get a scene of the Emperor, and the Emperor is shown a video file of the attack or some attack on Arrakis. He's seeing like the VR projection here, and it is the Fremen attacking, but he sees something weird. He sees a Fremen using a thumper, and the Fremen's just standing there. He's just gonna suicide bomb this kind of a thing. And he actually later on kneels and is like praying. And yeah, something's kind of weird going on with this Fremen guy. We'll get back to this later, because the Bene Gesserit are undermining the Emperor on Arrakis. And then we get to our final stretch of the episode. And this is where I thought, at first I was like, okay, well, not much is kind of going on. Not much is happening. Like, some things have happened, but nothing really kind of big's happened so far. Nothing big's happened, Jasper. Then we get to see the little kid again. And he's just like in the hallway playing with his little reptile toy, you know. And guess who finds him? Our friend Desmond. Desmond finds him in the hallway. And they have a little talk. You know, he says, "Oh, you had a bad dream. Do you want to tell me about it?" He's like, "Mm-mm, mm-mm." He's like, "Yeah, I could be a scary guy." And then he talks about how his friends gave him powers, that his new friends gave him powers, and that he's here to fight a war because people are controlling, our people are doing the thinking for us. And he's talking about the Bene Gesserit. The Bene Gesserit are doing the thinking for the Emperor. They're basically like a shadow government, essentially, behind the scenes. And he's gonna expose it for what it is. And he tells the little kid that all wars have casualties and that he's gonna be the first. And so the kid gets I don't know what to say. I don't know how to say it. The kid gets cooked from the inside out. Like literally cooked. They kill a child on TV. Holy moly. What? Yeah, they killed the brat. Like he was a brat, so I was kind of happy they killed him. But I didn't have to hear the kid scream for like a minute. That was kind of brutal. But that's not all. It gets deeper. Back on the Bene Gesserit homeworld, we see back on the Bene Gesserit homeworld. we hear screams. And it wakes up Valia and Tula, and they start running out. And it's Kaya. It's Kaya, the Bene Gesserit who was at the Emperor and had the nightmare and saw the eyes and the darkness. It's her. And she's burning alive too. She's getting cooked from the inside out. And if you remember back to the beginning of the episode, the Reverend Mother said, you will see the burning truth and know what to do. Prophecy fulfilled at the end. And her last words are, if I can get to it, I can play this. You can sue me, HBO. You can sue me. I don't care. There, skis.
I see him. I see.
It's a little vague, cryptid, but it's okay, Jaspers. It's all right. I kind of like how the embers become stars too. It's kind of cool. And that's how it ends. And that's how episode 1 ends. So, key things here, in my opinion. Important things. One, yes, you will see the burning truth. There is this vision that the old Bene Gesserit has at the beginning, okay? And I don't think that they've quite made the connection that it is prophecy. I think this is something new for them. The second thing is that understand that the Bene Gesserit have been kind of like ruling the Imperium kind of from the shadows, always in pursuit of their breeding program. And they've been very influential in the Imperium. One of the most influential organizations out there. There are other organizations too, and I do hope that they do show the Mentats, show the Spacing Guild. Ow! I'm trying to get cozy. They really need to show these other schools as well. I think that that's that was the one thing I wish they would at least acknowledge. You know, it's like, well, it's not just the Bene Gesserit. If you want someone good at math, you get a Mentat. And if you want a space navigator, you got to get a guildsman. I wonder. So this is where I think the story's going, right? The Bene Gesserit have a plan, and the plan was to put a Bene Gesserit on the throne, and their plan was working fairly well. They were about to have the heir to the empire at their school, right? Everything was working out. The emperor agreed. They had the wedding. Things were working out. Do you think after, the Kentucky Fried Children, the KFC, do you think that they're going to do you think they're gonna allow the princess to go be with the Bene Gesserit? I don't think so. I think this has derailed their entire plan. I think that he is a golem, that he is a clone of the original guy, of the original Desmond, and that he has been given technology or something that has killed 2 people. In fact, in the preview later on, we see that he does this to more people in a more public way. And I think he's going to use religion as the disguise. He's going to say it's God. And it could be God in the sense that it could be the evil machines. These things. If I can find it here. It could be the robot eyes in space. I don't know. This could be the God that gave him that as well. It could be the Ixians, or it could be this guy. I don't think we'll know this season, though. It's too big of a story question to answer this season. But I like what they're going for this, because the Bene Gesserit had their plan. It's derailed. What are they going to do now? Right? They've set up their story really well here, I feel like. And more so than like House of the Dragon. House of the Dragon didn't do anything in their season 2. Amazon Lord of the Rings is kind of like, again, it's like treading water. Like nothing happens in an episode that kind of makes sense. You can't, well, why does Galadriel jump off a ship at the last second? Because she has to, or else the story's not going to happen. But why have her jump off the ship? There's a lot of easier ways to convince me that Galadriel is on the hunt for Sauron. You don't have to have her jump off a ship at the last second. It's like saying, "Oh, I'm gonna take a cruise to Hawaii," and then when you can see the fucking Hawaiian Islands, you're like, "Nah, I forgot my toothbrush. I gotta swim back to L.A." Maybe she just wanted to jump. This show didn't have like a AAA actor, like anyone super well known. But it had some really talented actors in there, and some people may call it being woke and stuff because it's got non-white characters in it. That does not make it woke, in my opinion. Being woke is just a little bit different. My definition of woke. Emily Watson's well known. She's pretty well known. She was in Chernobyl. Like she does a really good job here, I feel like. And there's more to her story. I think in the show, I don't know how many episodes it's going to be. Again, one of the things that like murders these type of shows, or not murders them, but hinders them, is the lack of episodes. Is there let me see if I can find Dune Prophecy. How many episodes? It's gonna be 10. 6? Only 6? You're joking. You're pulling my leg. You are pulling my leg. No way. Oh my god, it's only 6. He wasn't. It's only 6. Oh my god. What are they doing? How much did this cost? Did this cost $300 million as well? Like, the show looks expensive. Like, I think the show looks good. I don't have any big complaints about the art style or the look of it, you know. Like, this is as popular as Dune's right now in our lives, is where Dune is most popular it's ever been. All right, because we've had 2 good Dune movies in the past 4 years, and this stuff. Well, okay, you know, the Penguin show was also the Penguin show was also a limited run as well. It didn't have much filler either. But God, 6 episodes. What were they thinking? It should be at least 10. What was the budget? Anything of the budget here? Episodes per development. So what's interesting is that Kevin J. Henderson and Brian Herbert are producers on the show. I wonder if Kevin J. Anderson worked on it all. And I don't know if there's any budget here. Here, let's watch the trailer for it, though. The trailer for it, the weeks ahead.
We are up against something more powerful than we are. We don't know how to fight it.
Essentially, what's going to happen, like my prediction here, like, he's lost his Truesayer. His Truesayer's dead, all right? Burned to a crisp. His son-in-law is also dead. Killed in his own house. Burned alive. KFC. You know, crispy critters. And you have Desmond, the guy from the Vikings, the guy with the scar in the face who cooked him, who's the bad guy essentially. He's gonna offer himself to the Emperor's Bene Gesserit X is gonna show up. You mean who? What? You think he had a first wife? He might have had a first wife because he doesn't have like a half son, like or something. He's got like the Empress has a half brother, and I'm not sure where I guess it came from him, but wouldn't a son from him would be in line for the throne, but a son from his wife, a previous marriage from his wife, wouldn't necessarily mean that. Anyways, Desmond's gonna offer himself up to be the replacement as like I can advise you much better than the Bene Gesserit, and I can solve your problems. Because I believe that Valia, Emily Watson, she's gonna have to go to the Emperor and be like, yeah, we got some problems, and he's gonna want solutions, and the only one willing to give solutions is gonna be Desmond.
We're in a time of crisis. Protect the sisterhood at all costs.
Open your eyes, Your Majesty. The sisters have you so blind, you can't see the truth.
You are the strongest among us.
That's gonna be a flashback.
Leaders of the Imperium.
This is flashback.
This complacency is a disease.
These are the Harkonnens, and guess what? They like hunting whales and selling whale fur, but they also like whale seed. That was kind of a weird conversation being made. The medicinal benefits of whale seed.
Redefine the Harkonnen name. Hard choices will have to be made.
When have I ever shied away from hard choices?
We are all just pieces on the board to be played in the pursuit of power.
There are
are predators in our midst. The hardline must be drawn.
See? Look at this scene. People are getting microwaved, man. These people are getting microwaved in public. Okay? We're gonna see more people get burned alive, and I think that I believe that Desmond's going to use the veil of his gods, essentially his gods and his faith as the reasoning, because if you think about it, if I went back in time a couple hundred years, maybe like even 200 years, and I showed them like an iPhone, they would call me a witch and they would burn me teeny. But if you do it but you know, if I go in and be like, I will smite this guy, and I pull out a gun and shoot him, they'd be like, holy shit, he's a wizard.
There are many who would turn their weapons against us. And this man pledges his in our defense.
Karina is slipping through our grasp. There is something that we are not seeing that is countering our every move.
There was
You
something.
think you can replace me?
I always wondered what your greatest fear would be. Now I have seen it.
They want to use me, make me their puppet.
Political intrigue is the core of Dune, and I really hope they're doing that.
You give any person that much power,
So far,
their
so
only
good.
path becomes to try and preserve it.
What if there was something I could do to help?
Still your breath. Focus your mind.
We need you.
All right, this is important here. Do you see this water here? This is the water of life. This is the water that lets the Reverend Mother, that turns a person into like a Reverend Mother, essentially. It's a poison. It's a poison that can, but if you know how to do poison alchemy, if you can do the metabolic alchemy, you can convert this poison and it will change you and let you see genetic memory. And that's one of the harder concepts in Dune, is the fact that in your genes you have genetic memory, and you can unlock the memories of your ancestors and the wisdom and the idiots, all the baggage that comes with it. You know what I'm saying? But how are they getting the water of life? The water of life can only be produced from the bile of a dying sandworm, of a drowning sandworm. And they live on a planet where there's no water. It does not rain on Arrakis. So I believe that based on from what they say in episode 1, the mini judges say that they are manipulating. They are. Let's see if I can find it here. I'll actually find the scene. They are undermining the Emperor.
Of your purpose. But tomorrow you must return. I shall see the burning.
What if? Not easily.
I shall see the burning.
And what if this plan of yours causes the... You don't know Naz like I do. She's strong.
Whatever trepidation you're...
You don't know Naz like I do.
Yes, they did use lots of
She's
drugs.
strong. Not easily handled.
Good. That's why she was chosen.
You forget I'm the one who bonded with her since she was a child.
I'm the one that bonded.
Who deflects the Empress's interference. Who assuages the Emperor's fears even as we weaken him on Arrakis.
See? They say it. They are weakening him on Arrakis. They said it outright. They have a Bene Gesserit instructing the Fremen on what to do. I believe this. That this is what they're doing. They have a Bene Gesserit on Arrakis, essentially orchestrating events so that the Emperor must do this marriage proposal, because without it, he will lose control of Arrakis. It is things that they set in motion in order to get Princess Valia on the throne. and also to get Princess Valia to come to the Sisterhood and to be trained as one for 10 years. And that's how they have the Water of Life. That's the Water of Life allows them to have prescience, essentially. It's and don't drink it, Teeny. Don't drink it. Don't drink the water, Teeny. It's not worth it. It will change you. And I believe this girl right here, this girl who is getting the Water of Life, I can just rewind the thing. She is referred to as a lost lamb by Valia Harkonnen. I believe that she is the daughter or somehow related to the old Reverend Mother from the beginning of the show. You know, the one that was dying. I believe that because they talk about her lineage, and that she will make a natural. She will be a natural truthsayer, and I don't know. I'm just saying it was very ominous the way that they were using the visuals and the dialogue. You know, you got to look at juxtaposition sometimes. I think this show is actually well made, Chad. It's secretly well made. And her mother, what's interesting though is that her mother was killed by Valia. If I'm right, this means that her mother was killed by Valia and she doesn't know it, because they don't tell people who are raised by the sisters who their parents are, even if they know who they are. They're like, nah, it's not important. It only confuse you to know because we're your family. We're the family. All right, not the people, not your genetics. So we're gonna have to see how this show goes. The show has some potential. This guy is a character. This guy looks like a character.
House only herself.
It's definitely Harkonnen guy.
I will not apologize for my strength. We're the same, you and I. Two wolves, one to feed, with no care for the cost.
Never trust the Harkonnen.
Sorceress.
The reckoning is coming. Let it come.
All right. Well, I think that kind of sums it up. 6 episodes.
Be leaders of
And they're gonna have flashbacks. Yeah, okay. If it's as good as the Penguin, I'll be happy. If they can actually get this to work. But I would say that this episode worked for me as like a episode 1. Now the question is, will episode 2 and the series as a whole work? Because it's essentially they have 2 factions trying to fight for control of the Imperium, right? And here's the thing. Power comes at a price. The higher you are on the totem pole, the faster and stronger the winds. Okay, if you put yourself out there in the public eye and people know that you're the ones in control, people are naturally not going to like you. Especially if you're disenfranchised at all by society. You're going to blame the people at the top. And the Sisterhood doesn't want to be a target for political games. They want to have control over politics in the Imperium, but they also want to be very subtle in their ways. And I'm wondering if if it'll come out that maybe Valia was too open and too direct of a method, that she was maybe a little too direct with the truth sayers and her policies, and she needed to be a little bit more subtle, need to be a little more covert in how she's exerting influence over the emperor and stuff. And there's gotta be a lot going on. There's a lot of themes you can always do in Dune. You know, I just wonder how it's gonna progress, and how many seasons we're gonna get. Like 6 episodes for season 1 sounds like we ain't got no time for flashbacks. PMA, we gotta go on. We gotta. Sorry, every scene has to matter, and I think that's what Game of Thrones didn't realize. It's what Amazon's Lord of the Rings doesn't realize, is that when you only have so many episodes, and you really have to, you're gonna have to kill your darlings. Oh, you love that scene that doesn't connect. Oh, you love the hobbits from and Gandalf from the Lord of the Rings show. Well, bad news. They have nothing to do with the rest of the story, so they're gonna have to. We're gonna have to cut it. I'm sorry. We're gonna have to cut the hobbits. They're not relevant this season. We can bring them in the season 5. How about that? We'll introduce the hobbits in the Shire in season 5, but that's it. But I did appreciate the fact that there was only 2 big storylines. There was only 2 storylines that kept on going back and forth to the Bene Gesserit and the Empire, or the Emperor. It didn't feel like they were mistreating the source material like Foundation or the Lord or Amazon's Lord of the Rings, how they just clearly don't understand the materials and they don't understand the world. Probably because I don't believe that they read the books. Honestly, I do not believe that the people writing the Rings of Power actually read the appendices and actually read the Silmarillion. I don't think they did. I think they watched Peter Jackson's movies, and that's the extent of their lore knowledge. And and not just that show, but this has been a common occurrence. I do not get that feeling in this show. I get the feeling that they know their lore, and they know what the vibe is. And the vibe is they want control, but a very light hand on the controls. You know, they just want to, like, you know, just make sure it's going their way. And you have Desmond who comes in, you have this guy who's coming in, who is challenging that, saying, you are doing the thinking. You are no better than the thinking machines who ruled over mankind. You are doing the thinking for everybody. You are just as bad as them. And I'm going to get rid of you. I like that. That is a good challenge. I like that. And he obviously has some type of technology. He is not frying people with the power of magic or with some kind of holy, the now super godlike being. It is definitely technology. It's like the Dune universe is not like, it's not like other works of fiction. There is religion, but there's no God. God is dead in this universe. The only God is the God Emperor, all right? May his reign last forever. And the fact that they bring up PMA, did you know that they bring up Harfell? Did you recognize that at all? In the first little bit of the movie, the old Reverend Mother talks about Arafel, and then you see like the little eyes, the robot eyes in the darkness. Is this? Yeah, that's kind of a. I think that's a really low key like lore drop. I think you're gonna put a God Emperor of Dune quote in the first 10 minutes of your Dune prophecy show. Okay, I'm listening. All right, because that was the big fear that Leto II had. His big fear was, again, machines that were prescient would hunt humanity down and exterminate them. But because of what the God Emperor did and his tyrannical rule for thousands of years, he essentially made that impossible for any machine to accomplish. So I'm optimistic. I wouldn't like give this show any I wouldn't go ahead and just give it the best show of the year award. Way too early for that, right? But compared to other pilot episodes like House of the Dragon, Lord of the Rings, Foundation, this show feels like it understands its vibe. It understands what the conflict is and is going right for the throat. And with only 5 episodes remaining, they better get the fucking work. All right, they better get to work. These scenes gonna be flying. All right, you better keep a notebook because they're gonna go from one point to the next really quick. All right, well, that is my initial review for episode 1. I should have done a watch party for this show instead of Like a Dragon. I may actually do one. Would anyone be interested in a watch party for this show on the Discords? Maybe. Only 6 episodes. Cookie time. We may have a cookies. Do you want to give Jasper the cookies? So I think, yeah. So like to sum up, I don't think that this show has potential. Big cookies. Whoa. Beanies, thank you. Hold on. Cookies. Cookie for the bookie dog. Come here, cookie dog. Lots of cookies.